Cape Town Mayor Dan Plato says the removal of foreign nationals from the Central Methodist Church in the city was premature and does not conform to an agreement with city authorities. Last week, police moved more than 500 people to Bellville, some 20 kilometers away. Plato says this was done without the city's agreement. Plato says the city is preparing an alternative site at Wingfield near Maitland for the group. On the line now, we cross to the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Motsoaledi. A very good morning to you once again, Minister. Let's just look at that statement that you jointly released with Minister de Lille. You're stating there the several meetings you've held with the administration of the city of Cape Town. Where is the disconnect? Who's not understanding who?
We are actually surprised. It's difficult to know who doesn't understand who, because as I said, the whole process did not just start in the air. It started with several processes. Firstly, with 2 judgments from the Cape High Court. Secondly, with a meeting of Home Affairs Portfolio Committee attended by most of the chief whips of all the political parties, where they set up the direction on what must happen. And we're giving 30 days ourselves as Home Affairs and the city to make sure that we had a plan to deal with the issue of refugees. Then we're overtaken by these disaster regulations. I then asked for a meeting with the Premier and all the stakeholders. In that meeting, we also mapped the way forward. They even asked me to, to approach the Minister of Police and the Minister of Public Work and Infrastructure to bring them into the fold in terms of the plan, because each one was going to contribute something to the plan. The plan went on until the 1st of April, when all the stakeholders sat and worked on the nitty-gritties of the plan. But then we received, the Commissioner of Police received a letter from the Mayor on the evening of the 1st, just means the eve of the removal of the people, which said, you can't go on this operation, it's illegal, you are using our land without our approval, which shocked us, because that land where we moved these people was chosen by the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure together with the Mayor of Cape Town. They were together. I don't know the geography of Cape Town, so I could not have chosen any land. And at any rate, Home Affairs does not own land. So they chose that land together, we planned together. Last minute, when the process was supposed to go on, the city started raising all these letters and objecting. Of course, we tolerated them until yesterday when they released another statement, which we really believe is misleading. And we said this time, we really have to respond. More so, the statement was to attack the police for the action they've taken. And the Minister of Police complained to me because he said, you told me that the Premier of Western Cape wants me to come and help. At any rate, it's the job of police to help. When we do so, we are now being condemned. So we thought we needed to put things into perspective about exactly what happened. That's why in the statement, we are trying to follow up the sequence of events of what happened when and who said what.
Who does the buck stop with, Minister? There are 2 officials who are being mentioned here, Alderman Nielsen and Mr. J.P. Smith. But doesn't the buck stop with the Executive Mayor, Mr. Plato?
Yes, we are mentioning this statement because Minister de Lille wrote to the Mayor a letter when the Mayor was saying me and Minister de Lille must intervene in the altercation between her and the police. We didn't understand what altercation was there, and the Minister de Lille was just reminding the Mayor what actually has happened, and to tell her that to tell him that he understands that the people who are influencing things not to happen are these 2 individuals. And I really want to believe her, because from the meetings which we've been attending, it was looking like Mr. J.P. Smith runs the shots in the city of Cape Town and in the whole of Western Cape. Because regardless of what you agree in a meeting, chaired by their own Premier, if he wants to change something, he does that so. He just changes it without, without even thinking. So I would like to believe that he runs the short game. And if he doesn't want anything to happen, it won't. For instance, when he wanted to put tents for the homeless in a place called Maitland, I'm sure you saw the tents over the weekend.
We covered it.
But when he doesn't want to work with us, hello?
We covered that live. when the tents were being erected?
Excuse me?
I was saying we covered the event
Hello?
live, the erection of the tents.
Yes, exactly. You saw that the tent started being pitched up. But when it comes to refugees, they just refuse. And people are saying, no, but refugees is the work of Home Affairs. If you look at the disaster regulations, every organ of state contributes something. Home Affairs doesn't have tents, doesn't provide water, doesn't provide electricity, doesn't provide accommodation. You know, all those things in terms of the disaster regulations must be provided by the city, because the disaster regulations are vested in the Minister of Culture and they are carried on by various city councils. That's why you see all over the country people who have got no accommodation, the cities that are running around. And so everybody was supposed to apply to play their role. Now, unfortunately, the city wanted to frustrate this process. In the morning of the 2nd, when the people were supposed to be removed, it was Home Affairs, the police, and Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, which have to struggle around looking for buses, because the city just withdrew their buses. They actually withdrew everything that they are supposed to have done, they've been doing.
Minister, are you concerned that this could be seen as political bickering at a time when citizens are in need of actual solutions?
Indeed. That's why in our letter we wrote that this is not a time of bickering, and you will be aware, Desiree, that this was the spirit in the country. Firstly, when the president met political parties, that was the spirit, that we put our fights aside and we deal with the matter at hand, because we are at war here with an invisible enemy. When the president met church leaders, same spirit. When he met traditional leaders, same spirit. When he met business, everywhere the president met people, the spirit was the same of cooperation. That's why when the city started bickering, we tried to avoid it, because I must confess, we were scared for the public to realize that there is some form of bickering and among leaders when it comes to the issue of what's happening in Western Cape. We tried to pull back and say, let's just keep quiet. But the problem is they keep on issuing statements that are provocative, that are misleading to the public, that are factually incorrect, and they keep on pulling back at the moment when something was supposed to happen, just to frustrate the event. I mean, in a situation where you must work together in terms of the constitution, if one party just at the last minute to frustrate the others just pulls back to make sure that something doesn't happen, that's quite evil. And so the issue of the city writing to police and instructing them not to move, we are handing over to the police for investigation in terms of the disaster laws, because I want to believe it's illegal for anybody to instruct the police not to do their work or to try and obstruct them and frustrate them from doing their work. Secondly, the parliament has asked us that they are giving us 30 days. I'm just compiling a report which I'll present to parliament. Thirdly, I'm going to present this report to the National Command Structure chaired by the President, that every time we try to move in the Western Cape, there's a city there that seems to stop things from happening.
Mr. Motsoaledi, what's the way forward? And also, as we finalize or conclude our conversation, can you give us the latest in terms of the South Africans who are supposed to be repatriated from Brazil?
Look, the issue is dealt with by DECO, as it is the issue of DECO and the Ministry of Transport. We are brought in just like we were in Wuhan when it comes to documentation. Every time a person is repatriated back to the country, we want to see whether they've got proper documentation in order to move, because the Department of Home Affairs is to facilitate travel via document. But the negotiations about who gets repatriated, what form of transport, or when do they get repatriated, is an issue that is done by DECO and Home Affairs. And of course, health gets involved about the safety measures. So when they call us, like they did in Wuhan, is to go to check the people who are being repatriated, what form of documentation do they have.
Thanks for talking to us this morning.
Hello?
Thanks for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi is the Minister of Home Affairs.